Hello, good morning, everyone. It's so nice to have you all here. My name is Kemia Capo, and I'm a city councilor for the city of Peterborough. I'm really pleased to be your MC today. We have a number of people here today for a really exciting announcement. Before we get started, just some housekeeping items. Thank you, everyone who is not speaking. Thank you for having your video on. We ask that you keep, thank you for not having your video on. We ask that you keep it off for the duration of the announcement so that we can see all of our speakers. We also would like to invite everyone, if you are not speaking, to please mute yourself and to only unmute yourself when you are invited to speak. And once you're done speaking, please mute yourself again. And we also ask that the chat function be reserved for media inquiries at the end of the announcement. So to get started, I know we're all located in different places, but I would like to give a land acknowledgement for where I am. So I'm very pleased to be acknowledging that, respectfully acknowledging that I am on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe peoples. We offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care and their teachings about our earth and our relations, and we hope to honor those teachings. So first, I'd like to invite Mayor Diane Tyrian for a couple remarks.
Thank you very much, and it's great to be here with everybody this morning, and thank you, Minister Scott and MPP Smith, Minister Monsef for being here with us, as well as Councillors Akapo Vasiliadis as co-chairs of transportation, and I see Councillor Pappas is on the line as well, and to media for joining us. Warden Jones sends his regrets for this morning, and he did have a little statement, but it has to do with the announcement, which I'm going to let our senior levels of government make that funding announcement first. So we can come back to that after, but we're very grateful for the support that the province and the federal government have and continue to provide to the city and county of Peterborough, particularly around the issue of transit and transportation. So thank you very much for taking the time to make this announcement this morning and for your ongoing support. And I will turn it back over to Councillor Akapo.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to invite Councillor Vasiliadis to say a couple words at this time.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful that the city of Peterborough is receiving this infrastructure funding for our transit system. This is a great partnership between the federal and provincial government along with the city of Peterborough. But it will improve our transit system by enhancing the quality and reliability of our public transit fleet. It will also help us improve the quality of service when it comes to us making our buses more accessible. But it will help us also create a more reliable, convenient, and efficient transit system, which will increase our ridership in the future. So again, I want to thank you for the infrastructure funding, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to say a few words today.
Thank you, Councillor Vasiliadis. I echo both what our mayor and my fellow councillor have said. And without further ado, I would really be my pleasure to welcome the Honourable Miriam Monsef, the Minister for Women and Gender Equality and Rural Economic Development, and Member of Parliament for Peterborough Kawartha, to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Councillor Akapo. Hello, everybody. Bonjour, Anin, salam alaikum. I join you from the Algonquin People's Territory, and I look forward to coming home in the next couple of days. Let me also begin by thanking everybody. I can't see the faces. I can see some of the names. My elected officials, my fellow elected officials on this call, and those who are not here, have been working around the clock over the past 100+ days to keep our communities safe, to keep our communities connected, and to do everything that is possible within the various orders of government's purviews to ensure that the pandemic doesn't do permanent scarring to our economies and to our communities. And I'm so grateful for the collaboration and the effective partnerships in place. Last week, we came together And we talked about the announcement of a new harm reduction program in Peterborough. And we also were able to celebrate the Causeway receiving federal funding. Today, I'm here to announce, along with the Honorable Laurie Scott, my colleague Dave Smith, Her Worship Mayor Tyrian, and Councillors Vasiliadis, Acapo, and Pappas, to announce that the beautiful community of Peterborough is receiving additional investments in public transit. COVID has taught us a lot of things, and some lessons we are still reflecting on, but it's taught us how interdependent we are. You know, when one part of our community benefits, it benefits the whole region. When one part of our country is hurting, we all feel that pain. It's also taught us how incredibly important it is for us to stay connected. And announcements in roads and bridges, investments in infrastructure like public transit are meant to support just that. As a teenager, I grew up in Peterborough buses too. So let me take this opportunity to thank the transit union, these essential workers who were on the front lines of COVID and prevented a lot of people from feeling too isolated and got essential workers to their jobs. Today, the government of Canada is, and I'm here on behalf of Catherine McKenna, by the way. Let me just say that our timelines on processing infrastructure announcements have been cut down to 6 weeks. So once we receive all the information in infrastructure cases in my department at the end of April, the processing time, and Minister Scott has been a great partner in this and has encouraged this work, has reduced to just 6 weeks, and this is a big deal. So a lot more projects coming across the country. Today, the government of Canada is investing $5.8 million for 6 projects that will improve transit services and accessibility throughout Peterborough, while also creating immediate and long-term jobs and promoting economic growth at a time when we need it most. Among these 6 projects are the purchase of 6 fully equipped buses that will enhance the quality and the reliability of the public transit fleet, the refurbishment of 8 buses, which will include the replacement of things like engines, transmissions, and passenger seating. The other 4 projects will go a long way in improving the accessibility of Peterborough's transit system. The purchase of 4 accessible buses that will provide transit services for passengers with disabilities who have felt particularly isolated during COVID. The purchase of 2 new specialized transit vans that will accommodate more riders with disabilities, particularly during peak hours, improving travel options, and importantly, reducing wait times. The purchase of 15 new fully accessible buses over 3 years that will increase the level of service of the public transit system, and the replacement of a public transit accessibility van that will provide passengers who require specialized care with improved service and increased reliability. I know these are exciting times for Peterborough Transit as well, and I do look forward to all the ways that we're going to build back better in our recovery from this pandemic. Thank you so much to everybody who worked so hard to make this happen. Back to you, Councillor Acapo.
Thank you, Minister Monsef. What a great announcement. That's really wonderful for our communities and our regions. Thank you so much. And I'd like to move on, and it's also my pleasure to welcome the Honourable Laurie Scott, the Minister of Infrastructure for Ontario, for a few remarks.
Well, thank you very much to councillors and my colleagues, and of course, Minister Monsef. It's always great to see you again, and I enjoy our meetings in our chats about building infrastructure and how we can all work together. I know I'm looking forward to talking to you more about broadband, but I'll leave that for another day because today is a great day for the city of Peterborough, and it shows all 3 levels of government working together. Mayor Tyrian, it's great that you're on the video. I don't get to see you as much. I know we're neighbors, but we will meet again when we can soon. But today, this announcement is about getting things done, bringing together the funding needed to move these projects to the next level. And I want to take this opportunity to congratulate my colleague, MPP Dave Smith, for all the hard work that he does for his constituents in his riding. And as I said, today is another day and another example of how we'll continually deliver to the people of your riding and how these infrastructure projects will make their lives better. So I would like to take this opportunity to ask MPP Smith to say a few words on behalf of the province. Madam MC, if you want to interject, but I am here as a Minister of Infrastructure and your neighbor and caring person to say over to your local MPP for more words.
Thank you, Minister Scott. I really appreciate that. It was July of last year where Mayor Tyrian, Warden Jones, myself, and my constituent assistant, Andrea Dodsworth. For those of you who don't know, Andrea has cerebral palsy and she's in a wheelchair. She was with us when we nominated this last July at the municipal bus yard. And I remember her talking about, if you check the Peterborough Examiner, I believe Cliff had a couple of articles about it. She talked about the need for accessible transit in the city of Peterborough, and this was going to be an absolute game changer for her because she could get anywhere in the city once this funding was fully announced and implemented. And today we're here and we're finally talking about this. The funding has come. It is a game changer for not only the city of Peterborough, but for the county as well, because of the community care van that is also being funded as part of this. Ontario is investing a total of about $4.76 million right now in this community for transit. And it is a collaboration with the municipality, with the federal government. And we're showing that, you've heard it many times through COVID-19, that we're all in this together. And this is one of those cases where we are all in this together for the betterment of our community. We're providing 21 new buses, 7 new accessible transit vans, and refurbishment of 8 existing buses. People need to get to their jobs. People need to get to different businesses to purchase things. Transit is key in our urban areas to make sure that the economy is moving. And if we don't have people moving in buses, if we don't have transit working to the best efficiency, then we're all losing out on different things. And it is great to see all levels of government recognizing that this is a key investment. It's not just an investment in transit, but it's an investment in the people, an investment in the people of our community. Across the province, we're also putting $7.3 billion in transit infrastructure over the next 10 years through the ICIP program in conjunction with the federal government. We're connecting people to places and people to jobs, where they work, to go to a medical appointment, whether they're going to school. We have both Trent and Fleming in Peterborough, and the transit is a key component to that, to getting the students from the city out to Trent University, out to Sir Sandford Fleming College, and back in again. It's about connecting families as well. And this type of an announcement does just that. Overall, the ICIP program will unlock up to $30 billion in cost-shared funding across Ontario. We're improving transit, roads and bridges, recreational facilities, cultural centers, and local water infrastructure. It's about shovel-ready infrastructure to support the economy. Now, this isn't shovel-ready, this is wheel-ready. And we're getting those wheels moving for the people of Peterborough. I greatly appreciate all of our partners in this, especially the federal government. They have stepped up and put a significant amount of money into our community with this. And our announcement today is another example of this partnership that we have with all levels of government. So I'd like to thank the City of Peterborough, Mayor Tyrian in particular, the County of Peterborough, Warden Jones, the federal government, our local MP, Mariam Monsef, and of course, the provincial government with my colleague, Minister Laurie Scott. Thank you for working together like this, because we're making a real improvement in our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, MPP Smith and Minister Scott, for your remarks. And you're both correct. This is indeed a great moment to celebrate. I'd like to pass it back to Mayor Tyrian for some concluding remarks before we move to the press.
Thank you very much, everyone, for that announcement. And so just wanted to pass on those words from Warden Jones, who again wasn't able to join us this morning, but has been a key partner in this all along as well. So from the warden, he says, we're very pleased with the investment in Peterborough County through our community care specialized transit bus. The investment will support the transportation needs of those most vulnerable in our rural communities. And I agree with him. And as MPP Smith mentioned, you know, the funding, particularly for fully accessible buses, will go a long way to help people in our communities that need to get to and from work, medical appointments, to visit family, to get out and enjoy the trails and the nature that we're so blessed to have in our region. So we're very grateful to have worked together across all those 4 levels of government to make this happen. And we're very, on behalf of City Council, very grateful to the province and the federal government for their investment in our community. So thank you again very much. And back over to Councillor Acapo.
Thank you. So this concludes the formal remarks at this time. So I will actually pass it on to Ms. Ashley Webster, who will be taking charge of the media and their questions.
Hi everyone. So if you could please, if you have a question, just put your name and media outlet in the chat. Media will have 1 question, 1 follow-up, and I will call you out as one at a time as I see the questions come in. So it looks like the first question is from Noor at Global Peterborough. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you so much, guys. Just a quick question. I'm assuming that ever since COVID-19 and the lockdown and everything, that ridership has taken a hit in Peterborough. Do you expect it to jump back up once everything is back to normal, and also once we see the changes coming through because of this money?
So I can answer that if folks would like. So certainly we have seen a bit of a decline in ridership, partly because we were asking everybody to stay home unless necessary, but that there were still folks that throughout this pandemic have been relying on transit as an essential service to get to, again, jobs, medical appointments, and so forth. So we still have students that need to get up to Trent and Fleming. So the use is still there. I'm not sure if the co-chairs of transportation have more particulars on that, but we certainly do expect the ridership to go back up as things are reopening, as students are coming back for not just the fall term, but there are students that are still here over the summer as well. And we are making changes, as you know, to our local transit system to promote the health and safety of our riders as well as our drivers. So I think all of those changes that are happening right now are going to also see an increase in numbers over the next few months. And I'm not sure if Councillor Vassiliadis or Capo have anything to add to that. And Noor, if you wanted more specific numbers, I could get them from staff and shoot you an email offline.
Don, did it want to add?
No, I just wanted to comment that having the money to or having the funding to have more buses, more accessible buses, gives us more option to enhance service. So I think that this will help us do that. Moving down the road, and definitely we will see an increase in ridership. We talk about consumer confidence, and I guess it'd be ridership confidence when people want to start taking the bus again. But when they do, we'll be ready for it, definitely.
And Noor, if I may, as my colleagues just said, this is not a one-time investment. This is part of a 10-year plan to improve transit accessibility and availability and quality in our community, but across the country. And as someone who relied on public transit, more people will ride the bus if it's more accessible, if it's more reliable. And we have a treasure in the Peterborough Public Transit, and it can be so much more. It can be so much more, and there are pilots running to connect the rural part of the riding with the urban part of the riding, creating a regional transportation hub. So COVID has most certainly affected transit systems across the country, but once lockdown measures are lifted, people still need to get to work and get around the community, and an improved transit system is going to accelerate our community's economic recovery.
Thank you so much, Minister. Quick follow-up question, sorry. I know that for a while now, there's been some talk by people who ride the buses about ride tracking, and how, for example, in the GTA, for instance, you can, punch in like the number of the bus stop that you're in, and you can see how many minutes is left for the bus to come or for the next bus. With the whole service changes and route changes happening in Peterborough, do you think something like ride tracking is even in talks at all, or could be on the horizon?
So I can take that. And definitely that's something that the city has been working on for a number of years. I know Councillor Vasiliadis started this in the previous term, and that's something that we've continued this term as well. So some of the changes have already been put in place. And one change that we'll be seeing hopefully relatively soon is people able to use Google Maps as a way to tell when the next transit stop should be there. But further to that, we're hoping to create an app, or we're not hoping to, we will be developing an app that will provide similar thing. So where you can download the app and have a look to see exactly where your bus is and say, okay, it's about 10 minutes away, I will go stand outside now. And the hope for that is hopefully this fall. However, due to COVID, that might be pushed out a little bit to the winter. Don?
Yeah, if I can just add to that too. Yeah, a few years ago, City Council invested almost $2 million into an intelligent transportation system. Now, this had about 13 components to it, but of course, as Councilor Acapulco said, that the app was a part of it, along with a lot of other tracking parts to it, to track our buses in real time. So it is coming, and it's something that will help us plan our routes a little bit better and know where people are or where the need is for transit in our community. But it is coming. It's something we invested in a few years ago, and it's just a matter of time.
Okay, so our next question comes from Joelle with the Peterborough Examiner. Go ahead, Joelle.
Sorry, I had trouble unmuting myself. Okay, so the changes to the transit routes, are those, it never quite was clear to me, it occurs to me now, whether those were contemplated as permanent changes or whether the routes will revert back to the 17 routes that existed before at some point. Is that a permanent change or not?
Councillor Vasiliadis, do you want me to take this, or do you want? So they're not contemplated as permanent changes. They will be, and again, we are open to feedback. We've been getting certainly lots, both positive and negative, from riders as well as residents in general. So again, the idea is during this pandemic to ensure that there's adequate space for folks to be able to distance while waiting for and on the bus. So again, it's a bit of a pilot and a work in process, as are many of the changes that we're implementing right now with regards to the reopening of the economy. So they're not contemplated as permanent, and we are going to be we currently are and will continue to be open to feedback about what's working and what's not working with regards to those changes.
If I can just make a quick comment there too. The interesting part of any of the changes is that it will allow us to test or do routes that gets us out of the hub system. And we've been trying to do that for years. And so it's interesting that the pandemic has allowed us to do this in a way, or test this. And so this will be a great kind of pilot, or a great time to see how well this works, and where you have some continuous routes. But that's the positive side, and being able to try something new.
And finally, we're still undergoing a transit review, which that review will see some changes in the future. They may be similar to the changes that are being made now. They may be different. But as Councillor Vasiliadis said, this is a great way for us to try something new. We've heard from people that the current system isn't working, so let's try something new to see if the new routes will be better service to our residents.
Joelle, opportunity for a follow-up if you'd like.
Okay, yes. I imagine there's a press release coming that describes those 6 projects to the letter. Because I'm wondering, for example, whether the second handy van will be used for the link or whether there's an additional community bus included in that. Thank you.
So there is a press release that if it's not gone out, it will be coming shortly. So we'll make sure that you get that.
Okay, thanks. Next person.
Okay, and I'm just seeing a note here that the press release is going to be issued in the next 5 minutes, so you should have it very soon. And I'm not seeing any more media questions, so last opportunity if there's any more questions. Otherwise, we can conclude the announcement for today.
Ashley, if I may, the colleagues in council have been working really hard to connect our 10-year transit plan to develop a housing and homelessness plan that's 10 years in its scope as well. And the two are connected. And I just want to take this opportunity to really thank the staff and the elected officials who for many years at City Hall have been toiling away on this file. I remember the Evan Root Center being packed with citizens who didn't understand why their transit service was going to be cut. And as a community, we came together and we gave a glowing endorsement of transit and the need to improve it. And it's those very same people that haven't stopped, the transit riders group, the folks in City Hall. And if there have been improvements made to our transit system over the past 5 years, it's because of their tenacity and their commitment to connecting our community. And it has not always been easy. So I thank them, and I look forward to many more positive announcements with my provincial colleagues and municipal colleagues, because this community is a great place to call home, but it can be so much better, and it will be better when we work together.
That's great. Thank you, MP Monsef. And is there anyone else that would like to make some concluding remarks before we all sign off? Seeing none, thank you everyone so much. And I'm going to stop our recording now.